Jesus, being the firstborn of all creation, does not mean that he is a created being. We'll look at what this statement actually means and why it means what it actually means.
All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. John 1:3. Now, this right here is saying that Jesus made everything. Nothing that was made without Jesus, which means if Jesus is a created being, Jesus would have had to have created himself in order for this part of John to be true. For by him were all things created, that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him. And he is before all things, and by him all things consist. So you see, if they would have taken 1 Colossians 15 and kept going, you would see that Paul is agreeing with John that he is not saying that Jesus is the first created being, but rather firstborn of creation has an entirely different meaning, which we'll get into in just a minute. So what does firstborn of all creation actually mean? Well, there's two things we're going to look at here as to what it means. First, we're going to take a look. If we go to Colossians 1:18, it says, firstborn from the dead. Well, basically, Jesus, in his human nature, when he resurrected from the dead, he was the firstborn of the redeemed creation from the sins of the previous creation. So he is the first to be born back from the dead. The other thing firstborn means is a title. In other words, he's the one that inherits everything from the Father. So in other words, whenever it says he's the firstborn, doesn't mean he's a created being, but rather that he is the inheritor of everything. So like with a human being, in order to be the firstborn of someone doesn't mean that you don't even have to be their offspring to be the firstborn. You can just be adopted into the family, or you can just be the one who inherits. Like for example, with Jacob and Esau. Jacob was the secondborn, but he became the firstborn when he took Esau's firstborn rights from him. So again, doesn't mean anything about being created. It has to do with Jesus being the first of the new creation because he resurrected from the dead. It has nothing to do with him being a created being at all, and it's more of a title more than anything else.